The ANC, the ruling party in South Africa and the dominant political movement since the 1990s, which claims to represent the interests of the working class, is facing a severe financial crisis. So severe that it is not paying its employees, and protests have arisen outside its headquarters.
Disgruntled ANC employees are not backing down on demanding their salaries. They're expected to protest outside St. George Hotel in Pretoria, where the party's national executive is meeting. The group is demanding that 3 months of salaries be paid immediately.
Worries of the fact that there is no indication that salaries for the month of September are going to be paid. We have always used the non-payment of the what you call the medical aid, or the suspension of the medical aid, is always an indication that salaries are not going to be paid.
ANC staff have vowed to continue their protest at the party's National Policy Conference in Johannesburg. Staff gathered outside the conference on Friday holding placards and chanting songs. ANC staff say they've not been paid for months and are also owed pension payments.
You have set up these labor laws that must be respected. It cannot be yourself that is transgressing each and every single labor law that exists.
Now, before I continue, let me encourage you to subscribe to this channel, because we want to get the amount of subscribers up to 100,000 as soon as we can, so that we can use this channel to have a more international focus in the coming year. In this video, I will cover the most important information that you need to know about the ANC's deteriorating financial position: who it owes, how much it owes, why it owes, what's happening with staff, how the party is trying to wriggle out of the debt crisis, what could potentially happen as a result, and most importantly, how it affects you and I, and what this conveys about the political system in South Africa. This is especially urgent now for the ANC as the 2026 municipal elections approach and the party needs money. Not just some money, but substantial funding to run its campaign. So, some background. The ANC still owes the marketing and printing firm Insolvency Investments for services rendered during the 2019 national election campaigns. The original claim was around 102 million rand. Over time, interest and accumulated costs have pushed the claim sum upwards, and estimates now place it at well over 140 million rands, with some sources suggesting that it is up to 150 million. The ANC's defences include claims that a settlement or a novation deal has wiped out the original debt, allegations of fraud and VAT non-registration by Insolvency, and that the contract lacked proper authority. However, the party has lost key appeals. It has lost in the High Court, which ruled in favour of Insolvency. It has lost in the Supreme Court of Appeals, which dismissed the ANC's appeal on 24 November 2023. As part of a settlement in December 2023, the ANC and Insolvency signed an agreement under which the ANC placed an order valued at 190 million rand for election materials, purportedly to cover the historic debt, even though independent valuation placed the actual cost of those goods at around 125 million rand, meaning that the ANC may have settled about 150 million of debt in exchange for 65 million actual value. This raises legal questions. According to watchdogs, that constitutes a donation in kind of roughly 85 million rands, which would breach the limit set by the Political Party Funding Act. Meanwhile, enforcement has escalated. movable assets at the ANC's national headquarters, or Lethule House, have been attached by the sheriff. These movable assets include desks, refrigerators, microwaves, and even pot plants. Bank accounts have been frozen, and the same firm is now threatening to take liquidation action if payment is not made. The assets seized so far are valued in the tens of thousands of rands, which is far short from the debt that is owed. The party reportedly had bank account balances of less than 100,000 rands when last inspected. Staff salaries have been inconsistently paid. The party is struggling to fund operations, provincial staff, internal programs, and in effect to prepare undisturbed for the 2026 local elections. Donor confidence is reportedly shaken, especially where funds risk being diverted toward legacy debt instead of campaign infrastructure. Legal actions continue to mount, and the potential of insolvency for a political party that claims to be the governing vehicle of a country is extraordinary. Now, why is this so important? If a party that governs South Africa cannot manage its own books, how can we reasonably trust it to steer the country's economy, run state-owned enterprises, and manage public finances? When the political system shields the ruling party from consequence while facilitating opaque funding flows, taxpayer money is effectively at risk, either through bailouts, forced rescues, or misallocation. With the ANC's finances under such severe pressure, the upcoming 2026 municipal elections may be affected, not just in terms of campaign spending, but in how the party engages, negotiates deals, and perhaps relies more heavily on state resources or access to state tenders. This raises fundamental questions about fairness, transparency, and the integrity of South Africa's electoral and governance system. At the heart of the crisis is far more than a single party's balance sheet. It reflects the failure of a highly centralized political economic model in which power, resources, and accountability are merged at the top. When the governing party is financially compromised, it cannot, in practical terms, function as an effective self-governing entity, and the entire system becomes brittle. Yet the party is protected by the system and remains in power as a result of the system. This is yet another reason why South Africa urgently needs decentralization, localized fiscal autonomy, and community-based governance as a corrective to centralized failure. Instead of a giant monolithic party that raises funds, negotiates deals, and uses state resources, we need stronger local institutions, clearer lines of fiscal accountability, and a political culture where power flows from grassroots